Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSports. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. And since it's Friday, we bring in Matthew Rooney to help close out the weekend. Just to start at the top, we got some great news this morning. Mr. Hamlin's breathing tube is out. It seems like he's doing pretty well. An amazing recovery. So kudos to him. Kudos to all the medical staff. That's lovely.
I love that he just asked if they won right away. Like it's typical football player, pro athlete. Yeah, this is great. I'm glad to be alive. Did we win?
Yeah, it would be. Obviously I've never woken up from being out for several days like that. It'd be very confusing, like when they explained, no, they didn't even play the rest of the game, man, and had to be a lot of catch up for them. But yeah, I don't consider myself a pessimist. I'm very optimistic about everything, but I don't know, for some reason, like even I was like surprised at how good the news has been all week. Like it just slowly scaled up today, where it's like breathing tubes out, neurological stuff's fine. It just seems like in life we don't get happy endings like this all that often. So just great. Like everything's been great news surrounding this, and I guess from a football standpoint, my goodness, like Drew and I talked about this Wednesday, like we were concerned, will it be a distraction? Will it be a motivating factor? At this point, it is for sure the biggest motivating factor now. Yeah. Their guys doing well. It feels like they can, hey, he's fine. We can focus on our jobs a little more here. So hopefully the Bills can use this as we use the word galvanizing like 100 times, but hopefully this is something that isn't too much of a distraction because in the long run, I don't want to see the Patriots in the playoffs, guys. So
I'm kind of with you. They have to win to get in, right?
I would like no. There's a way they can lose and still get in. Some other things happen, but I would like I'd like the first step would be the Bills kicking the shit out of them, and it sounds like the NFL schedule is set. I'm not even going to get into the coin tosses and the neutral site shit. They're voting on that. Like the owners are voting this afternoon with less than 24 hours before week 18 games start. So a lot of pressure on those guys to do things, but we'll see how that all goes. It sounds like we're going to be doing coin flips for home field on some of these, and possibly neutral site, which means changing rules that are in place. So you have to have owner. It's not even a majority. I think it's like a plurality. Or I think they need like a 2/3 or a 3/4 vote, something along those lines. So we should have some interesting NFL news as we go. But yeah, like I said, there is football tomorrow. And if you did listen to the deep dive, I even have some action tomorrow. And it wasn't truly a middle, but I have some Jags division, Jags AFC, Jags Super Bowl, Jags to meet the Lions in the Super Bowl, which would be just hilarious, man, to get home again. Hot air balloon coming my way if I do win that one. But I bet the Titans at 7. I still think it's still good down to 6. Hasn't moved much, but just the fact that they're playing this on a Saturday after the Jaguars played without resting really any of their players until the second half. The Titans rested everyone almost. The Titans are going to go with Dobbs instead of Willis, and the Titans have extra rest coming off the Thursday game. Like, just everything's lining up for this to be a close divisional matchup. It's still the only game really that has guaranteed massive outcome for both sides. Like with the Lions game possibly meaning nothing for the Lions. A couple of the other ones are important for wild card stuff, but this is winner gets the damn division. Winner gets and for the Titans, they cannot get in on a wild card. The Jags still could through some help, but Titans have all the motivation in the world, and this number is high by about 2 points in my humblest of opinions. And for me, Christ almighty, I would love to see, again, for my Jaguars bets, Jags win by a field goal. We're smooth sailing. And I was almost going to do that too, and I know some of you who follow me on other stuff know I have a decent chunk on the Bengals to win their division as well from early in the season. Drew and I hopped on at about 3-1, which is graded now apparently. Like they just have been given the division thanks to the canceled games. I was going to do something similar with that and take the Baltimore Ravens, but even before we knew that the Bengals have been given the division, I just said, man, I'm not sure I can do that with a bad one. Like it's still a middle, but I just don't think the Ravens hang with that squad, especially how sharp the Bengals looked in the limited action we got to see them on Monday. So not doing anything with that, especially now. I've won. I win. I've never
Don't have to hedge if you've already won.
I've never had a weirdness happen like this where a game is taken off the schedule and it's helped me. Again, sorry if you had Bills team win total overs, if you had Cincinnati win total overs, some of that stuff is going to get canceled.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, we'll see. I have it in an offshore. They haven't graded anything yet, but I couldn't find anything in their bylaws that said all 17 games need to be played for anything like that. Most of that is going to be surrounding win totals.
Props, win totals.
Yeah. There may be something about that. Like if you do have maybe a Josh Allen yardage total for the season, or, I almost said Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I'm thinking some of those may cancel one way or the other. So hopefully you're on the right side, as in you have a losing bet in your queue that's going to push for you. And hopefully it's a fun NFL weekend. And let's go Rams, because I want Sunday Night Football to be relevant.
Matter.
Yeah. And also I have a Rams Lions parlay, straight up. Because we talked about it, Noops. It's the correlated one where if the Rams win, the Lions get bet, so you no longer can get that money line price that you're betting right now.
Right.
It's automatically semi plus EV, because if the first leg of the parlay comes through, the second leg of the parlay moves 10-15% just off the betting market. So let's go Baker Mayfield. I need you for a 9-1 parlay, buddy.
How many points the Rams getting? What was their money line? 6.5.
So
okay,
6 money lines 225.
Yeah,
okay.
The parlay when I placed it paid about 9-1.
Okay, I like
it. It's again, if the Rams win, probably looking at like a 7-1 parlay when it happens. So happy to have that. Maybe I can even find a spot to live bet some Packers in that game if the Lions were to score first, and just sit and chill for the final regular season game of the year.
Was there any other spots like that? I haven't had a chance to listen to the deep dive, but I assume a lot of this week is kind of planning out your timing of entry more so than ever. Is there any sort of like, if this happens at 1, we got to jump quickly at 4 or something like that?
Most of it did surround the Lions game, but there were other ones with some of the, like the Chargers game becoming meaningless based on some earlier stuff. The Vikings, and I think the Vikings and Niners play at the same time. So that's not going to be an issue. Usually they don't give you this sort of stuff.
Niners are at 4. They actually play.
They do play later. Yeah, so they put them in reverse actions. If the Vikings were to somehow lose to Nathan Peterman,
not going to happen.
I think it would be less important, because at that point, like if the Giants backups beat the Eagles and the Vikings lose, the Niners would have a lot to play for. They could win the 1 seed. But again, they're also like 14-point favorites already against David Blau. It's not like you're like, I'm going to sneak one in before this gets to 17. I'm not so sure that's like an angle to be shot. I think a lot of the contract bonus stuff, as Like Show's pointing out, is important, but also there are some of those where it's like somebody pointed out one on the Jaguars, like, hey, this wide receiver needs this many catches.
Zay Jones and Christian Kirk.
Yeah, it was a decent amount for either. It's like, I really just think that's one of those where they don't give a flying fuck about the contract bonus stuff. It's like, the game is just so much bigger. So look for spots where a team has nothing else to play for. Perhaps they've done this in the past. We've seen the Bucks do this. I've seen Brady do this. Like, there are teams that are more apt to do the sort of things, but like if the team actually has everything to play for, contract bonus stuff is kind of secondary. So don't get sucked into too much of that stuff. Maybe start judging them by like, this one is more likely to be a spot where they would actually just feed this tight end the ball to get him like an extra $500K.
Yeah.
No, I'll probably do some prize pick stuff around that, because they'll have props for all that. And I'll put a few of those round robin, some of that shit together this weekend. So I'll tweet that if I have anything that I think is actually worth playing. And what else you want to bet on today, guys? Why are you here, Matt? What are you going to bet on?
I got hockey and some college football.
All right.
You want hockey now?
I do want hockey because I watched hockey last night.
What'd you
so
watch?
Difficult. At the rundown, we don't know what to do.
Yeah, I know there's no rundown
lost.
on our stream here, and I just get lost. But I watched a pretty good overtime game again in the World Juniors. Congrats to the Canadians, and congratulations to whoever gets that young man on their team.
Future Blackhawk Connor Bedard. We're tanking hard for Bedard.
Tank hard for Bedard. I like that.
That's
what
we're.
Be Bedard.
The Blackhawks do play tonight, and we talked about on Tuesday my fading the Blackhawks just about on site. I'm going to avoid that tonight because they are playing the Coyotes, who are not as bad, but also very bad. And there's not a whole lot of value on betting the Coyotes right now. I think the Hawks are technically favored, but the Coyotes like minus 105 still on the money line. So we're avoiding fading the Blackhawks. I do have two bets. I'm going to add a plus money puck line just for you, Andy, because I know you love those. I'm going to go over 6.5 in Caps Predators. Nashville played last night, so you're going to have a backup goalie in. And oddly enough, is defensively sound and oriented. Nashville has been the last few years. They haven't been quite as good in net and defensively this year, especially their last 3 games. I think their last 3 games have gone 8 goals or over. Washington scores a ton. I think their last 4 have gone 8 or over. They score a bunch of goals. Nashville lets in a bunch. The Caps aren't the best team defensively in the world. Not bad, but not a top team in the NHL defensively. So we're going to take the over 6.5 there. I think get some tired legs with the Predators. The Caps score a lot of goals, and Nashville's starting to let in a lot of goals. We're also going to take the Caps minus 1.5 there, plus 144 for you, Andy. I think the fresher legs at home against a traveling second end of a back-to-back for the Predators. Good spot for our Capitals. And the Panthers and Red Wings over 6.5. The Panthers, one of the most disappointing teams in the NHL this year, under 500 after being the 1 seed in the East last year and really being a cup contender the last couple. They allow a ton of goals. Both of their goalies have a goals against average of over 3. They're allowing as a team like just under 3.5 goals per game. They're still scoring right around 3.3, but they're allowing a ton of goals. They've taken a big step back in net and defensively this year. And Detroit is not the most reliable team defensively. They let in their fair share of goals too, but they like to play a fast-paced game, and they score a decent amount as well. I think they've gone 3 of their last 4 have gone 8 or more goals. That the Panthers have hit that in like 5 of their last 7 as well. Or they might be 7 or more, excuse me. But both teams let in a lot of goals. Both teams can score. So we're going to take a couple over 6.5s on a Friday night, and then our plus money puck line, which I forgot to type in to the spreadsheet on the Capitals. Capitals overs have been a thing for me. They've been working.
I'm doing it. And yeah, as Coogan here in the chat's pointing out, the Titans are a pass funnel team. So those overs might just happen. But I don't know if I'd count on both of them. Certainly, if you are making a parlay of things and you start parlaying some of those props, I'm not sure I'd put both of the receivers on the same team in that parlay, as they're a little anti-correlated. That's not a word. Negatively correlated. For sure.
Uncorrelated?
I like anti-correlated.
Uncorrelated actually cracks me up. So, golf. Not the best.
How did we do yesterday?
Daily plays weren't great. I had a push on the one that couldn't get a push, so I lost that. But Colin Morikawa, one of my outrights, as I mentioned earlier in the week, is one of your co-leaders, and he's looking electric. He had 6 birdies in a row through like the, I think, 10th or 16th holes. He ended up shooting a 64 to be atop the leaderboard with John Rahm and JJ Spawn. JJ Spawn, a little bit of a surprise to see him up that high, but Tom Kim, Scotty Scheffler, some of the other bigger names are up there as well. And another guy that I mentioned when I talked to Noonan earlier in the week on Tuesday, somebody I'd looked at for some props, didn't end up pulling the trigger. I didn't like some of the numbers, but I'm going to be using him in matchups quite a bit. Tommy Tables, they call him, because he has a crippling gambling addiction, apparently. We're not gonna allegedly. No, he does like to go to casinos as he goes out. And well, you go get golfing. There's always going to be a casino nearby. I tried to find him when I was up at the 3M. I went to the local casino. I did a lap around the whole place to try to see him, and he was not there. He might have gone to Mystic Lake instead. But Tommy Tables against Mackenzie Hughes. Mackenzie Hughes, I should go check back and see if I actually lost money against this guy. Feels like I bet against him a lot. He had a 66 yesterday. I don't have that being sustainable for him. I know it's an easy course to score on, but he ended up scoring the same as Tom Hoagie yesterday. I don't have these guys close. I make this a sizable favorite, like minus 130, minus 135 here. So Tom Hoagie matches up pretty well with this course. He can run like the sun. He is a winner from last year. Everybody is, isn't it? It's tournament champion. So small bet on that. I should put that in the Discord. I'm out of practice. I'm slow on the old everything I do all the time with golf.
You'll get
and
back
not only
into
that, but having it in Hawaiian time isn't helping either. Because it's like, all right, it's 7 p.m. I should
Shaking
sit
off
down
the
and look at my
off-season
golf
list.
numbers. Oh, they're still golfing. Like, because this golf doesn't start until 2 in the afternoon. So again, I think the first tee times are in about 3 hours because it is still breakfast time in Hawaii, and specifically on the island of Maui. Further west, if you keep going, I think you'd probably stop over, and I'm not sure if there's a direct flight from Honolulu to Australia.
Probably.
Is there another?
I think so.
I'm just picturing the plane on the traveling montage scenes from Indiana Jones. They stop a lot though, because I don't think those planes held as much gas, nor did they go as fast.
Probably not.
But I think today's technology, you could probably get from LA to Australia with like one stop, maybe not even one. So further west,
stop. You see,
Hawaii.
fly to Japan, maybe.
I could. There's some islands out there, I'm sure.
Well, we don't know anything about airplane travel. That's if
Yeah,
there's one thing we're sure
we
of
do
at this
not.
point.
Yeah, we've gone off the rails. Anyway, Adelaide is in Australia. I'm guessing we're laying a big favorite price today, or what? That's usually where we go.
You know how I roll. Just one bet on a Friday. I did see Abnormally Distributed's question earlier. Linda Noskova, one of our bigger outrights, has made it into the semifinals. I'm definitely going to be betting her to win the Australian Open. I will be lining up to back her in just about every tournament. I don't know if we'll see how she does by the U.S. Open, but definitely AD. Let's get some Noskova Australian Open outrights. I'll be doing that this afternoon probably. And in the other tournament, Bonaventure, our other outright, made it to the semifinals. So fingers crossed, 2 big numbers. Let's hope we get one of them into the finals. In the meantime, we bet on Sabalenka yesterday. We're going to go against her tonight. Arena Camelia Begu, plus 210 here against Sabalenka. Sabalenka was playing great tennis. It was a pretty good match for her. Kind of lost the plot a little bit there in the second set, but was able to get it together and close things out 7-5. That's generally a good sign, but Begu is someone who is going to take the time and let Sabalenka lose the match. She's not going to make a lot of mistakes. She's not going to give Arena anything. She's not going to be bothered by the power at all. I really like her game here on some of these indoor hard courts, and had this closer to plus 170 myself. So I think plus 200 or better looks pretty good. Again, Sabalenka is a fantastic player, one of the more talented on tour, but at a moment's notice can lose a match on her own, let alone, make just enough errors that Begu can come in and win. And Begu's solid enough. I mean, she could serve her way through this match, win a couple tiebreakers, and we'll be in good shape. So plus 200 or better. Give me Begu tomorrow, and fingers crossed. We're going to let the outrights roll. Again, they're all playing big favorites. Maybe you could take some Holmes Jabeur to win Adelaide if you want, but that seems like a silly idea. So fingers crossed. Let's see if we can get one of Noskova or Bonaventure in the final.
Is this one of those where you're not too afraid to take some spread as well?
No.
It doesn't feel like she just gets the shit kicked out of her.
Maybe.
Sabalenka doesn't like red line until she's behind. She doesn't seem like the one that's just like, I'm gonna red line on your ass from start to finish.
But the problem is Begu wins the first set 7-6, and then Sabs goes 6-3, 6-2.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All
Like
right. Just the money line.
It's good to talk through the process. Yeah, just the money line. Again, the spread's here at +4. I'm happy to put that aside. Like, there's just too much nonsense there. If this match is close, Begu probably wins it. We'll get a lot more equity that way.
I like it. I don't have any college basketball today. I'm sorry.
That's weird.
I know that it's not a big slate, so we are back. It is heartwarming to see some normalcy though, because the COVID year and even the year after that, we had a little bit of goofiness with some of the scheduling. Like Fridays are for nothing, but as Dan pointed out when we were chatting earlier, nothing but the Eastern Seaboard. Like the Ivy League teams play on Friday and Saturdays, so they don't have to miss class because what's more important, playing for Brown
What a
basketball
novel
or
idea.
getting your degree, like those, even if they're under scholarship, like still want to take care of that homework. So I love seeing the Ivy Leagues on Friday and Saturday, like I'm used to. I know they canceled one whole season, which was horrible, but a lot of MAAC, a little bit of Horizon League, which is Detroit's playing, Detroit Mercy. I couldn't find much value. I thought about fading Yale as a big favorite, but Dartmouth is just so bad. Same
Harvard
thing
Brown,
with
pick them.
same thing with Columbia at home with Princeton. Like that's another one. I almost played Columbia. If you really need something, if you're hard up, if you're scratching, like the meme from Chappelle's show, basketball picks. Maybe you can go with a little of that and take some Columbia if you're real degen. But it was I'm still trying to catch my breath from last night. I had a 2.5 point underdog that went to fucking overtime. God damn.
Oh,
Like there's nothing worse than that. Down by 2 late, puts up the 3-pointer. If it goes in, we're Gucci. If it doesn't, there's 20 seconds
Gucci.
and they're fouling, right?
uh,
They're for sure fouling and they lose by probably 4. Or you have to sweat it the next possession. They made the 3-pointer. Montana was not able to reciprocate, and underdog was a 1-point winner in overtime. Congratulations, Lumberjacks. We did do the research. There is a national forest in Arizona. So thank God for that. I'll have some bets tomorrow. I'll put them up on Twitter. I'll put them up on BetSperts and close the show with more football. We started with football. We're ending with football. I'd like to get Dan. Maybe Dan can put his opinion in the chat of why the Jackrabbits are catching this much steam. I feel like that was 4, and now the other college football championship is up to South Dakota State as a 6-point favorite in Frisco, Texas on the 8th. Curious to see how that went, but I don't think that's the game you're going to focus in on, Matt.
Not the game I'm focusing in on. I'm focusing in on the. We know. It's okay. We forgot about we're focusing in on the college football national championship, college football playoff national championship. Excuse me. A pair of bets. I'm going with. First, I'll start with the bottom one there, the over 62.5. If you watched the college football show yesterday, that was a pretty consensus pick for me and Dan. That's one Dan gave out also on Tuesday. We're both very high on this one. Georgia's going to score some points. TCU's defense, well, they're pretty good at creating some havoc against Michigan. They still let up 45 points. They were very susceptible to big play, and most of the shots Michigan took, they had some pretty good success with it. On the other hand, TCU's offense is going to be able to take some shots, and they're not going to be able to run the ball a ton because Georgia's run defense is very good. But like we saw against Ohio State, Georgia's pass defense is gettable. Keely Ringo kind of got, his lunch handed to him by Marvin Harrison Jr. And while Quentin Johnston is not Marvin Harrison Jr., Quentin Johnston is probably the second best receiver in college football behind him. So I expect him that feeds into my 90-plus receiving yards for him at plus 122. That's an alt line, by the way. That's why I like him also to catch 90-plus receiving yards, went over 100 in each of the last 2, and he's kind of he's Max Duggan's big play guy. He's Max Duggan's, fail-safe bailout guy. He's Mr. Everything. He's done everything for TCU this year. I think we're going to see a lot of points. Like I said, Georgia's defense is not as good as it was last year. They're still good, but they're much more gettable in the pass game than they were last year.
And I have a take on this. I did bet this over as well. You have the over in the game.
Yes,
I noticed that as I've started to take in TCU games late in the season, because I was really rooting for them to get into the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, they have Johnston, and then I can't think of the name of their top running back, but like those are
Kendre Miller. We're not sure if he's playing.
Yeah, Kendre, we're not sure if he's playing, but it's like
I think he'll play.
They don't seem to be guys that you can just take away. Like, we're going to focus in on Johnston and then nobody else can beat us. Like, they're deep teams. Yeah. So, and that's kind of helps your bet, because I don't think the defensive strategies take away their best receiver and they can't beat us.
No, and I don't
Like,
think I don't think a team like Georgia, like I don't think a team that's that talented across the board is going to. I don't want to say have too big of an ego, but they might have to the point where we're going to do what we do and we're going to focus on our defense and not necessarily
Yep.
worry about, at least from the start, saying we have to stop this guy. We're going to play our defense. We're going to play our game. So I think Quentin Johnson will have his chances to make big plays. And like TCU's offense you saw against Michigan was they were able to run the football, but like they take shots. They take a whole bunch of shots. They're going to throw the ball deep and they're going to, do what, got them there. And they're going to keep taking shots against Georgia because that's how they're going to beat Georgia. Not saying they're going to, if they can beat Georgia, that's how it's going to happen. They're going to connect on shots like they did against Michigan. And I think Quentin Johnson would be a very big part of that. So I'm staying away from the 12.5 because that's a weird number for me. I could see TCU keeping it close, but still losing by 14. I don't really know what's going to happen there, but I like the over and then the Johnson props.
Does it feel like TCU early, Georgia late, like we kind of saw in the last game? I mean, if TCU is down, say, 2 touchdowns at half, do they have a chance of kind of regaining the plot?
It's weird that team you never really count out because they've been behind the 8 ball so many times this year and bounced back, and they're such a big play offense that they really are always 1 or 2 plays away from bringing them in. I bring them back into it. I don't know what to expect early on. Honestly, I think if I had to lean towards a way, I probably would do that TCU first half Georgia game again. But I don't know. Like Michigan started off fast and they probably should have been up bigger, but then they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And I'm not sure Georgia's going to shoot themselves in the foot like Michigan did because Georgia's been to this spot now. Back-to-back years. Stetson Bennett's been doing this for 10 years now. I trust them to be a little bit more composed than Michigan. I think TCU had that first half lead because of a lot of things Michigan did.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm with it. I'm excited about that one. I might even play more prop. I like that you started on prop. I want to play a bunch of props. That's my favorite thing about Super Bowls and big games.
I was on FanDuel looking. They have everybody's receiving yards, alt receiving yards, alt rushing yards. It's great.
So, all right, then. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot the NBA. We will have NBA. Noops did bet the NBA today. We're going to close the show with that instead. So, Noops, apologies.
Andy, didn't you also forget today was Friday?
I did forget today was Friday. I'm still in holiday mode. The kids didn't have school Monday, Tuesday.
Was it a nice bonus when you found out it was Friday?
I mean, all the days are the same to me, man. Just wake up and do the same thing every day, man. We're adults at this point. It's the slow march.
There are no off days.
Yeah, the slow march towards death, Matt. It's just wake up and do the same thing you did yesterday.
Oh, no, that's a march.
Yeah,
one of those days you still owe me a hockey game. You got to come down.
It's casual Friday. I'm planning my Chicago trip as we speak.
Oh,
but this is not hockey. This is the NBA. And let's close with 2 more bets for the week.
2 picks. Again, nothing yesterday, and thank God. We were talking before the show. Everything I thought about doing yesterday went wrong. Discretion is the better part of valor sometimes, peoples. But big slate tonight in the NBA. Just 2 picks for me so far. Again, just some really strange spots. A lot of odd sort of injury nonsense. Might like the Cavaliers, but need to see if Darius Garland is playing or Donovan Mitchell is going to play. Again, the Clippers look like a good spot, and they're taking money. Somebody just went in. The Clippers were 4.5 when we started the show. It's down to 2.5. So maybe missed the boat on that. Maybe it means everybody is going to be playing tonight. My Philadelphia 76ers hosting your Chicago Bulls, Matt. That should actually be a pretty fun game.
Embiid's not playing,
Embiid.
Right?
Yeah, no Embiid. So
we actually have a chance to win.
Maxey.
We actually have a chance to win.
I said have a chance to Tyrese Maxey.
You have a chance to win the first half.
We'll see. But 2 bets I did actually make and like quite a bit here. The New York Knickerbockers visit the Toronto Raptors, a Raptors team that just found out yesterday everyone is on the trading block. Now, not that that's the main reason I'm betting this game, but there's a lot of different ways that can affect teams. And as soon as the locker room turns, things start to go bad. The Raptors have had a really rough start to the season as it is. And the Knicks just kind of keep chugging along. A lot of the times Toronto gets sort of the value of being at home, not only because it's a pretty good home arena and, frankly, players seem to have a lot of fun doing stuff the night before games in Toronto. It's generally a bad travel spot for whatever reason. The Knicks are coming in with plenty of rest here, fully loaded roster. I had this game basically a pick 'em, so happy to take plus 3.5. Might go back and sprinkle some money line, seeing plus 145. I'm hoping maybe to get a plus 150, maybe even a plus 155. So I'll hold out on that. But give me the Knicks plus 3.5. And then Wizards, Thunder, under. It's Not quite as simple as bet Wizards under when Bradley Beal is out, but it's pretty close. Beal this year doesn't seem to have too much of an impact on the spread necessarily this year for whatever reason. Probably his value is down to a point or less at this time, but the total is huge. I mean, he really drives a lot of offense for both teams, and his ability to score and his ability to keep people. His lack of ability necessarily to keep people from scoring. The Thunder here, they've been great at home. We know they just put up 150 points the other night without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I'm not quite expecting that again. Let's just say that was a little bit of an aberrant performance. Either way, my numbers came out with this total honestly closer to 226, 227. Made a few tweaks. I could see how the market maybe could get to 229. Maybe 230 is a little bit of a stretch, but again, anything 232 or higher is too big of a number for me. So an underdog and an under in the association. And I think that's it. I think that's all we have. Somebody asked about Coupe de France. Is that soccer?
It's the
Probably.
soccer version of like the
Bicycle
FA
racing?
Cup or the Copa del Rey. It's their club tournament between all the levels, and they're starting to get to the spot where it's the
more
top end.
Turkey Super League?
Yeah, the top end clubs there's the Turkish Cup. Every domestic league does have their cup that they play in. I mean, there's a spot where like PSG's on the road if you want to try to fade them a little on, but I mean, good luck with that. I don't know enough about these lower level French teams to get involved. I know I gave out a no sweat, easy banger 10-unit whale play soccer winner yesterday.
Only 10?
But I've been just responsible gambling, guys.
Mini whale.
Try to keep the whale bets to 10
Dolphin.
units, but
Dolphin.
Trabzonspor, and Dan was on the right track. He just said, what was it? Trabzonspor's team total over 2.5 I was like plus 210. Should have bet that instead. Instead, I laid 118 on the full game over. Got home, no doubt. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Have a good weekend, guys. Thanks, Matt, joining us. Thanks, Alex, for always being here. And thanks to you guys in the chat for hitting the thumbs up on the way out. Producer Dan, take me into the weekend. The weekend for shows, I guess. And I do Sunday shows too. See? Grind never ends, people.